There we go. There we go. And just like that, I know it seemed like a long time. I know boys been waiting for this work. Boys been waiting for these episodes, but we are back with season 2 of the Dog Pound Presents Unleashed. And I got the usual dogs with me. You know, it's been a while. I think the last episode was what? In December, right? So I got a quick little story before I start introducing everybody and we get into this episode with the amazing guest today. But we've been away so long and we've been on vacation for so long and we've been in this fucking just sideways bear market movement in real life as well too that I forgot how to set up the damn Hangouts stream. So we got some of our people, Wolf, who's usually on the show. I think he's in Japan right now, and he had to come back. He had to go grab his laptop. He was just eating some bomb ass sushi or some shit over there. No, I'm just playing. I don't know what he was doing, but anyway, he had to get off his vacation and help us to set this shit back up. But we are back. You heard the dogs barking, so I got some people with me. I got Blues. I got my boy Maine. And I'm Blockchain Dame. I'm your host. Hey, I'm still here. I ain't going nowhere. But I think this is special because just to kick off season 2, we got a very special guest. And I met this guy in person at the World Crypto Con in Vegas. Had a blast along with Maine. We were all chilling, whatever. It's my man Luke Martin, bro. What's good? Venture Coinist. Hey, I always tell him, I got a story about this. I always say that whenever I first came into trading, just the crypto verse in general, I don't know what kind of Google search analytics shit you got going, but you were the first dude that popped up.
No, man, no crazy SEO package. I was just,
there you go. That's what I'm saying.
I was just online. I think more than anyone else. I think that's just ours.
Hey, and your following shows it. You are now pushing 200K, and you got platform set up. You made a nice name for yourself and a well-respected name. And I thank you for being on the show today. Once again, these guys are doing this out of their own gracious time. We're not paying anybody. They doing it. They fuck with us. We fuck with them. And that's how we get people on this show. And that's how we, get this information out to you guys. So with that being said, let's roll into season 2. So season 2, we got some surprises coming up for y'all along with more special guests in the future. We want to start doing the little things a little bit differently. We want to start, hopefully doing some slight giveaways here and there. Just start making the space interesting again, right? Because right now it isn't too much shit happening except some sideways. I think Maine said it in one of the past episodes last season that or just in December that we've really been, and y'all can kind of confirm me on this, we've really been stuck in the same range in Bitcoin since like November, right? Just a big, like, what is it? It's a big range of like 4,000 to like the lower threes, right?
And after we lost that 6K floor, I mean, at the end of the day, no what way you look at it, we're going sideways.
Yeah, and it's been happening since like November, if I believe. So,
but you'd swear like 3 or 4 bull markets have started and ended in between those times.
And that's the crazy thing, and that's what we're gonna get into a little bit later in the show. But I mean, whether I don't know how guys are trading, but I mean, there's opportunity there. There's ways to make some money, but other than that, it's been kind of quiet, and we'll talk about that later. But just to get into it, so we got my man Luke. So like I said, we met up in for the World Crypto Con in October, and really just since then, everybody's went back out, kind of started doing their own stuff. So what do you have popping right now, my man? I'm pretty sure your followers know, but what's like your biggest project that you have going on right now?
For sure. First off, thanks for having me on, Dame. Vegas was definitely a good time, even if it wasn't a good conference. It was a good time to meet up with all you guys and Dog and Maine and everyone else. So thanks for having me on. Watched your show a couple of times with SZ and everyone else, so should be fun. But what I'm working on right now, I mean, outside the norm of trading and pushing out as much content as I can, The one thing I'm really trying to hit hard is the Coinist podcast, right? So I want to get that started up again. I know there's a ton of podcasts, including your guys, your own, but there's a lot of podcasts out right now trying to kind of share general info or having on people from Twitter that trade. My whole goal is to have on maybe a different perspective of institutional investors or people that are running exchanges and different, kind of provide a different perspective of trading content that you just can't see on Twitter. So that's kind of the only other thing that I'm really building out outside of my normal.
Yeah, and I think you got the fan base, and I think you definitely got people. People are gonna fuck with you on that for sure. I think, and I think you'll have no problem getting those big names on there, and that's very good because there was kind of like, I wanted to say there was kind of like a bubble of podcasts going on over the last couple of months. And I think it happened because people were just getting so bored with the market and its movements that they were just trying to stay relevant in the space. And some are good, some are bad. Thankfully, people like our shit. You know what I'm saying? We good over here. But we by the way, 1,000+ subscribers. That's not that much of some, but for somebody who's a show that's only been on for a couple of months, that's good. But I think that some of those have gotten phased out now, and people have kind of dropped out of that. So I think in the long run, it's just about keeping good content in these podcast episodes and just trying to, instead of just sitting on here talking just bullshit and not really giving no information, you got to focus on the content a little bit, which is why I have some good, what I think is some good questions for you, for some of the people that follow you or just anybody in the space, to see how someone who's been in the space for a while, how they're adapting to these times in the market. So
sure.
So with one of the questions I wanted to ask you, so on the investing part and on the trading part at the moment, how has your strategy changed since I could say, I guess, since October last year, or just since the bear market in general? Like how have you adapted or switched up your trading methods or investing methods at this moment?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the biggest change, and this is not only for me, I think this is something that I try to at least communicate. I'm not sure how good of a job I do of doing it, but the one thing that's changed, and maybe it's not since October of last year, I think it's really since pretty much everyone got into crypto, is the idea of most people wanting to invest or really step up, they're investing or they're buying or they're trading when it's an alt season. And for the last 12 months, ever since 6K broke, or ever since we've been declining since 13K, really, alts have been moving down as well. And that's just because we're in a highly correlated market. It's probably going to be that way for a long time. It's going to be that way whether or not you're a maximalist or if something overtakes Bitcoin. It's going to be that way because that's just the way that the system is set up right now. Our exchange accounts are denominated in Bitcoin. That's the largest asset by far, and everything tracks that. So a lot of people, and me including, when you get into crypto, you see these previous alt seasons, and when you join, that's when most people are posting charts. It's when most people are making money, is this insane alt season. And this idea in people's head is different for everyone. So if you were around in 2017, you saw the alt season, from May or June 2017 until about December, and you could literally buy anything and call yourself a trader or call yourself whatever you want. In 2 or 3 weeks, you could pray and you would have more money. That has changed. And so the biggest change for me is not necessarily, definitely not trying to call alt season, but also not trying to necessarily time an alt season. I would view them a lot more, and it's how I view them right now, as windows, right? So even looking, I guess, really since September or December of, the past 2 or 3 months, we've had 2 or 3 mini kind of, I would call them micro cycles or mini cycles. And it's periods of time where it's not necessarily an alt season, right? So it cracks me up that there's still people on Twitter saying, this is the one, this is alt season. And then 2 weeks go by and alts have ran 50%. And then they retrace 50%. And it's like, and then everyone kind of goes back and, we're going to 1K, crypto's over. And then we have a 2-week period of alts move up 50, 70%, and then they move back down. So I think if people would kind of approach, instead of having this golden idea or this, utopia of alt season, instead just approaching it from, is Bitcoin trending up and how long does this trend last? What is the next high time frame resistance? Because that's really the window you have to be allocating to alts, treating them like leveraged Bitcoin positions and really just viewing them as a window. So I think that's probably the biggest change that I've made. I think it's a change that everyone should make, but I can't give advice. But that's the biggest thing for me is looking at it not so much as an alt season you just have to wait to trade or have to wait to be in alts for alt season, and trying to play it on a 1 or 2 or 3 week uptrend. And if it makes sense to be allocated, be allocated. And if it doesn't, sit back. Maybe you wait a week, maybe you have to wait a month, whatever it is, kind of viewing them as alt windows instead of alt seasons.
Windows instead of, I like that. So in your words, and I think you kind of just described it a little bit in what you just said, but in your words, what is an off season? Like, what would you say is an off season? Like,
yes, that's the whole problem with the question. It's like I could give my description, right?
Yeah,
but
what do you think? What do you think when you see it? I'll be like, okay, now this is an off season, like right here, like.
Oh, okay. I think for that to happen, I mean, just based on what I've seen, right? The 2 most ridiculous alt runs that I saw were end of 2017, and then really April, May. And some people like forget that time period, but most alts ran like 3, 4, 5x, even if it only lasted for about a month and a half. That was like that. I would even call that a pretty ridiculous alt season. So like, even if you look back, like objectively, I think this is probably the most objective definition you can look at. Just looking at a trend of ETH or a chart of ETH versus Bitcoin, it gives you the best picture. If you look back, end of 2016 going into 2017, so like January to May, there was a 6-month quote unquote alt season. And then you have in 2017, you have December to May, you have a 6-month alt season. Ever since that, we've never really had a 6-month alt season, right? It's been like end of 2017, beginning of 2018, there was like a month and a half. And then April, May, there was a month and a half. And then I would even argue like right now or September, and then also kind of beginning of February, I would say these are alt windows, not alt seasons. We're not seeing the 3, 5x. We're not seeing a full rotation from large caps to mid caps to small caps, but we've seen it twice in the past 2 or 3 months. Most alts rise 30 to 50%, right? Yeah. So it's a different definition for everyone. I think that most people are OGs that were around longer than me would say 6 months and say you have to get a 10x. But for me, like an alt window or an alt season, I don't care if the whole space is moving up 50%. That to me is like, I don't care if it's not an alt season. That's an opportunity that I can take advantage of for 2 or 3 weeks.
Hell yeah, and that's definitely a good analysis on that. So what I was gonna say, I was thinking on a different perspective. What if you do have people that ever since the market took the downturn, and people was like, you know what, well, I'm just going to sit on it. I have large amounts of allocation in my portfolio to certain coins, and those certain coins just happen to be projects that I have master nodes or something like that in. First of all, do you operate any master nodes or anything of that produces like the passive income like that? And what are your thoughts on that? Is that a good strategy to have during the season? Catch some of these master nodes on the low and just kind of let them just self build up and just wait on it to the next run. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have an interest or maybe a different perspective on this than a lot of other people, and it's just because the first masternode that I got into was actually really the first time I had dove deep and tried to understand what a masternode was indeed. And I was looking at privacy coins. I like the privacy coin sector, and I was looking at Zcoin. I talked to a couple other investors that I kind of respected their opinions, and they were talking about Zcoin and how their technology, it was supposedly undervalued, and they had this thing called masternodes coming out. And to me, I just looked at that as a catalyst. I was like, all right, great, this is going to be a nice little flip. And the timing of this was like mid-October, mid-November of 2017, right? So I think a Z node or a Zcoin masternode, whatever you want to call it at that time, was like 10, 15K maybe, right? And that trade slow. And I was thinking, it was like, okay, if I buy the collateral, it probably makes sense, to hold on and continue running the masternode, especially you start running the numbers in your head, obviously, and you're like, okay, if it runs to, $50 or whatever it is, it generates X amount per year. And I'm like, okay, that's a great idea. And you look at Dash as a nice little, as a nice barometer, as a nice hurdle. And you're like, all right, if it gets to Dash's level, this is sweet. I'll be making 100K or, 500K, after a few years, just passive income. So I buy a Z node, and this is like, it has a mini run December, it goes back down. And then I think like within 60 days, it was definitely within 2 months, it had almost reached, I think the top was like 120K, right? For one masternode or one Z node. And I had a thread running on Twitter that I just kind of like started as a meme and as a joke. It was like, let's see if Znode can run to a masternode, right? So like instead of throwing up a chart for my trade, I was like, all right, like I just put a Honda Civic into this. So I put like 10K into it. And like each week I would update and I was like, all right, now I can buy a Jaguar, I can buy a Lambo. And it got up to there. And the last reply, I think it was like a BMW, what's that electric car, the i8, right? It wasn't a Lambo. Yeah, it wasn't a Lambo yet. And Luposhi, I don't know if you guys follow him on Twitter. He posted, he's like, you know what, man? He's like, you got to sell now. This is never going to be a Lambo node. It's going to be worth a minivan. And it's still like a meme to me. And to me, it still kind of made sense masternode wise. And sure enough, it's just hilarious how that thread is aged. Because I don't think it's nothing Zcoin specific, but obviously as every single altcoin went through the bear market, it's not worth the passive income, the amount of volatility that the actual principal is going through, right? So like it doesn't matter if you're earning 10% a year or 35% a year, if the actual principal investment is going up 80% and going down 95%, right? So that was like the biggest lesson for me of like I'm probably just going to view everything as a trade. And for assets, this volatile, it doesn't really make sense to be thinking about what is their yield on a yearly basis. It just doesn't make sense. The only other coin that I still hold that stakes like that is Tomo. And I don't run a masternode yet for similar reasons. I have enough where I could run a masternode, but I just stake that. And it's because it's a trade anyways, right? I'm not viewing it anymore as like I have to hold on to a certain amount. But that was definitely a fun learning lesson for me. I think the one thing to take away from that is, and everyone should think about this if you're in a masternode, I don't want to dissuade you if you like them, but think about, you can't calculate the yearly yield on something like it's a stock. Like you can't look at it like a dividend yield. You have to understand that if you put in 10K and it's making, 50% a year, the fluctuations on that 10K going down 90% and up 50%, right? That matters so much more than the passive income. So I would just always view them as a trade. I wouldn't be viewing them as some kind of, genius passive income generators.
Yeah. And I think and I think a lot of people do think that, hey, well, I'm getting all of these coins from my masternode or whatever. But yeah, I don't think that they look at the fact that, well, the coin that you're have the masternode in or are staking, that shit just went down 90%. So you just, especially if you bought it back at the beginning of 2017, you're really down. And it really kind of doesn't matter how much your masternode is generating at the time. You got a long way. Now, I mean, of course, hopefully you got a masternode for a good project that has a good chance of coming back and going on a run once some money comes into the market. But if you don't, I would definitely gonna cash that shit out and take your L and move on.
but even taking it one step further, like what would be a higher class masternode? Like let's look at something that was the most valuable masternode, a Dash masternode, or something like Zcoin, which I think people would rate as a higher tiered project based on it being on Binance and having developers that are associated with other top projects. Like you look at a project like Dash or Zcoin, I would say those are probably really strong projects that have masternodes. And then most of the coins you see that have masternodes are I'm not going to throw the word scam out there. I don't know what they are, but they're on Cryptopia, and who knows if it's just a massive pre-mine or whatever it is. And it's like, even looking at Dash, it goes through the exact same cycle that 98% of other alts are going to go through. And if you look at, Dash since April of last year, it's down 60-70%. So whatever yield you get, no matter how good your masternode coin is, like it's the principal is what you're trading, and the yield really plays such a small role. And that's how I view it, right? Unless it's like a 10-year investment for you and you view Dash as the future.
I'm still stuck. I'm over here stuck with an Alco and a Walton masternode, and I think that those are two good projects. And it's to the point to where I'm gonna just, if I have them now, I'm gonna just sit on them. So I got them for a decent price. I got them before the run of the big run of at the end of 2017. So it's not too far off. So I'm gonna just let it sit. But that's the thing about masternodes around this time. I know a lot of people have those questions. A lot of people have different views and opinions about that. But I definitely am feeling what you just spit, the info that you just spit on that. Now, as the space is changing, I think about a week ago, or just in the last couple of weeks, we've had statements from the SEC saying that a lot of these coins on the market right now will be deemed as securities. and most likely will be delisted from a lot of these exchanges. And the big talk and the big new keyword that's different from ICOs, because ICOs, Ethereum led that, and the ICO bubble and past, like, what, beginning of 2018 and 2017 was just crazy, right? Well, the new, I think you know where I'm going with this. The new thing is STOs, right? Security tokens, right?
Mm.
And that's, that's just getting a piece of something, and getting a piece of whatever, right? And I heard more about this, and Dog and some other people told me about some projects like Swarm and other STO based things. What is your view on STO? Because it seems like this is the next big, as my guy Ian Bellina calls it, the STO bubble is next, right? So I don't know, like, what's your view on this?
Yeah. Partially split view. So when I first dove into it, I really liked what Pomp was putting out, and I also knew that definitely what most of us were investing in, what I was investing in even in the ICO space, was definitely security, right? So those utility tokens, though, and then being labeled, they are unregistered securities, so they should be securities. What the STOs are going after a lot of times aren't kind of the same build as a utility token. So it's kind of, they're really aiming for something else entirely. And the biggest, I guess the most attractive types of STOs, or attractive types of frameworks they're building for these, that make sense to me, is, tokenizing something that already exists, but is hard to transfer, or doesn't allow certain geographies to invest in, right? So all of a sudden, if you have a REIT, or, some kind of, whatever it is, people are talking about tokenizing cars or real estate and things like that. That makes sense to me. If you can open up that liquidity pool, or open up that investor pool globally, and people can contribute that way, and it's very easy to have your accreditation or KYC and those things kind of written into code, and that's how you transact them. To me, that makes sense. The biggest question mark that I've seen, because I've done due diligence on a few STO ideas, invested in one, and I'm kind of not publicly, but just helping out on the board of one as well, which is doing a tokenized REIT. The biggest thing that I throw up question marks when I hear like STOs are this new wave, or STOs are going to be the next 10X, is a lot of times STOs aren't, it's not going to be so much a speculative, this has the potential to completely revolutionize the healthcare sector type deal, right? It's not like people are creating some insane solution we've never seen before. It's not so much a revolution as it is kind of an evolution of an idea, right? So let's say you have a REIT. That REIT wouldn't go 10x just because it's tokenized and put on the blockchain. All the blockchain is going to help it do, it's going to help it trade 24/7. It's going to make sure settlement is a lot faster. It's going to make sure that I can transfer it from here, and it's tradable on other stock exchanges and things like that, right? So I don't see how, just because it'd be tokenized or put on the blockchain, that all of a sudden that real estate property or the underlying asset appreciates 10x, right? If anything, it'd be a very marginal thing. It'd be a better user experience, a lot of things, but I don't see them being like home run 10x plays like we had in the ICO space. That was all based on hopium, sentiment, and greed. Right?
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is that the tokenization and the STO, it would only be worth as much as the asset that you are investing in with the token, right?
Sure. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you could definitely still catch a nice multiple, but it's not going to be in the sense that like it's not a Binance ICO going on a launchpad that is going to potentially revolutionize how you're downloading files, right? It's like the only multiplier I see, or the really attractive thing I see, if you're looking to catch multiples, if that's the reason you're investing, right, is if somehow you get in the seed round, or you get into, it looks a lot more like a VC deal, or kind of a stage financing deal, as opposed to like what people are used to of like, oh, did I get into the pre-ICO? Is there a 70% discount, right? Is this thing the internet, IoT? Like it's not just like some random words. There's an underlying asset we're tokenizing. So it's not like that thing can just magically run 10x.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about it, because everybody's saying like it's the next thing is about to go crazy, and
it could.
Honestly, I don't think it very well could, but honestly, I don't think everybody just like fully understands it full circle, and it's gonna be one of those things that I don't think people will fully understand until it just starts hitting the markets and people start actually getting into it, which there is some out there right now, but I'm talking about more on a widespread level. And that's crazy because like I said, we always have good guests on here, and you led me right into the next topic. Look at you. You got the schedule down and didn't even know it. I wanted to talk about Binance, and I wanted to hear about I wanted to hear some input from Maine and Blues, because I know that we all and mostly everybody in the crypto space, Binance is, to simple and plain, CZ and Binance are killing shit right now. They are going crazy right now. They are going ham. They are in the space, and they have kind of clearly took over as the big dogs in terms of exchange and just like the processes in general and what's going on. And he had an AMA a couple of days ago in which the Binance coin BNB has been going fucking crazy since when? Since like October or some shit. Ever since they started bringing the launchpad stuff back, ever since the credit cards purchases just opened back on Binance. So basically, what I'm trying to get to is just what do you think Binance is going in terms of, like, is Coinbase even still really that top thing anymore? As like when people come into the space, they go straight to Coinbase, or you think people are going straight to Binance now just because all of the talk and the developments that they have in place?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to hear Maine and their input, but I'll definitely give my take first. So I think comparing Binance to Coinbase, they're just playing in two different arenas. They're really fighting over two different market shares, right? Coinbase is almost entirely U.S. based and really looking for that market. I think they also allow European. I'm not too sure, but they're really fighting for kind of that regulated, the new entrants. I mean, even for my friends and people that are lightly into crypto, back before I moved and I played in a weekly hockey league, like anyone else that owned crypto, really they only had a Coinbase account, or they had the Coinbase app, and that was the only thing that they understood. It was the only thing they knew. They don't care about wallets. They don't care if this thing's decentralized. They don't care if this is more secure. They just want something that'll make them money, and Coinbase is how they buy it, right? So I think Coinbase is probably the still going to be the best on ramp for anyone in the U.S. It's just the easiest to understand. Their marketing is good, and they're the brand awareness is there. I think the difference is now that we're in a bear market and there hasn't been new entrants, and you can see this from people's Twitter numbers. I know they're ramping back up, but most people, there's not a lot of new people coming into the space. And that's normal because most people that did come in for the last year lost their shirt. So now that we don't have new people coming in and it's just the same people, most of us, are already crypto adept. They already have Bitcoin, or they can already exchange their Bitcoin to go buy something else. And Binance is the only arena for that. And it's also global. So it's a bigger market. I think I really like what CZ did. It was fun having a conversation with him, but I think they're playing for two different things. I think Coinbase is still going to be massive.
Yeah. And then another one of the questions, did you have anything on that, Blues? Because I know that was kind of a general question, but I kind of wanted to get just a tad bit deeper into actually what Binance is doing. I think so.
Yeah.
Blues, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Luke. Like, Binance and Coinbase aren't really competitors for now. Like, so Coinbase is mostly a gateway to convert your fiat to Bitcoin and vice versa. But yeah, with Binance you can have all the other altcoins. So that's where the action is. So usually that's what most people do. They get through Coinbase and buy some Bitcoin with their fiat, and then they transfer it to Coinbase, to Binance, to buy some altcoins. And yeah, to be honest, fair play to them. They developed a lot. Like they created a lot of things. I'm talking about Binance, of course. Like they're developing their hybrid decentralized exchange. You have this some sort of Wikipedia for the crypto coins. Like they're adding coins every day, and most importantly, their ICO launchpad, which is a nice idea. Even though I think it's pretty exclusive for now, because the ICOs that launched weren't really available. Like you couldn't afford to get on it. It sold out in a few seconds, like for like that token again, BitTorrent token and Fate. Yeah, it went super fast, and and the manner of how they're collecting money is, they're going through some private sales and all that. Like the classic way, like the ventures. So it's the same process.
Yeah, I actually like it's good that you brought up Launchpad, because I actually like what they're doing on Launchpad. And this is not a new concept. They were doing Launchpad before. They did Launchpad at the end of 2017 with some coins like Bread and everything. Then they kind of paused it. I guess they kind of had to refine the guidelines of how they were doing it. But that brings me to the point with FET and with BTT. Is the Launchpad effect real? Like, I mean, we saw BTT when it came out and hit the actual exchange for trading for everybody. I think it went like it opened up like at a times 3 or 5, and then it eventually went to like a times 10 or plus times even more than that. I know it was like some crazy shit that I had no clue that it was going on, and I was pissed off. But anyway, and then I did keep track a little bit more about Fetch AI, and it opened up at a times 5 and had a nice little run after that, and since then it's kind of calmed down. But do you guys think that the Launchpad effect is real, or you think that it's just an effect right now because people are just dying for some serious gains, right?
Do you mean like the Launchpad specifically on like Coinbase, for example, like Ripple getting added there?
No, well, that's a tad bit different. I'm talking about the Launchpad effect for Binance.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm not very knowledgeable about that. So I'll let someone else go ahead and answer that one.
I mean, but like Blues and Luke, you've seen it, right?
Yeah, I've certainly seen it. So I was pretty deep in the ICO space. I mean, for me, it was really the most attractive, or I guess the most interesting thing off the bat was this whole game of ICOs. And this was like before it deteriorated and it got even more kind of murky, or you could even say the word shady, in early 2018. The first ICOs I contributed to were like Mothership, and I swear I'll get to the Launchpad, but a little anecdote first. The first ICOs I contributed to were Mothership. I was in ZRX, I was in Syndicator, I was in a lot of these ICOs where it wasn't like it is now. Like there wasn't ICO drops, there wasn't ICO stats, there weren't like 10 people with 50,000 followers on Twitter saying you should invest in this one, use my referral code. It was literally like one ICO would come out like every week or two. Like it was very rare. And also there wasn't like a hype, like things wouldn't sell out in 5 seconds or in a day. It would be open from like, the sale would open this time and it would close a month later. And you would send your token to this random address on a website, and you're checking My Ether wallet and you just hope that they send it back in 2 or 3 weeks. And then you sit there and you pray for Binance or Bittrex, right? So I guess at the time it was really only Bittrex. So the game slowly evolved in 2018 and turning into really more of a VC model that I think a lot of people didn't want it to turn into, but that's what it did. And most allocations were going to things that weren't even in the white paper. I think Launchpad is doing the exact same thing. It's just now eliminating a lot of the steps. So the one good thing I think they're doing is, and some people don't think this is right, and whether or not it's fair, I'm not here to debate that. I'm here to kind of take advantage of spaces I think I can take advantage of and make money. Some people don't think it's right that, certain people can get in, certain people can't. At least with the Launchpad now, there's a chance for retail to get in. I know for a lot of the best deals in early 2018 and after kind of things were more fair in 2017, a lot of the times it was just who do you know, or tokens were really only going to advisors or people with massive YouTubes, right? And that probably isn't a good, method. I think some of the whitelists had good models, but at least now they're letting people get in. I think CZ is also being extremely transparent, whether or not people like this, but he's being very transparent and saying, look, we're going to set the cap low. We're probably going to set a low sat price, and we're going to launch it because that's going to, there's obviously going to be more demand than there is supply, and that's going to drive price, and it's going to be an exciting launch, and price will go up, right? He's very clear about that. He does not mix his words there. He says straight up, we are going to list a lower market cap, than we know we could raise, and that's going to drive demand on launch, pretty much, ensuring that it pumps. So I think the transparency is good. I think allowing some people to get in is good. I think the problem that existed at the end of 2017 and exists at the beginning of 2018 still exists in that you look at BTT and you look at FET, and if you read the white paper, and I barely read white papers of projects I would invest in, it was almost entirely on token metrics and whether or not I thought it could get listed on an exchange. Now that you know it's going to be on an exchange, you look at this thing and you say, okay, can it accrue value over the long term? And if I look at FET, it's doing like AI marketplace, which is, I don't even need to say how far off that would be on the blockchain. And then you also look at something like BitTorrent. It's like, who even uses BitTorrent anymore? And it's 2019. Yeah. I've never paid to download anything ever in my whole life. Right. So it's like, I don't know who's paying for that. And I think there's a few ways to play these. If you get it, and it's this, nothing has changed here from the ICO game. If you can get in at a good rate and you get into the ICO or you get into the pre-sale or you get into the private sale, whatever that is, if you can get in and you think that demand will be higher when it hits exchange, it's probably a good buy. If you can get in, and it's a bear market, this happened in early 2018, a lot of very hyped ICOs would hit market and do bad. That was probably a good entry. But now if you can't get in and it's definitely going to pump on listing, it probably doesn't make sense to be buying that pump, right? It's going to list at like 5, 6, 7x. It's going to fly up. So now you just have to kind of wait and let levels form and let it go through a full cycle and things like that. But I think he's being transparent, but I mean, people should see it for what it is. It's he's literally saying, I'm raising a small cap. I'm putting it on Binance. This thing is going to pump. And whether,
exactly.
If it pumps, and if they die, it dies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at BTT, I mean, even the CEO said it was useless.
Wow.
I can, So yeah, it's just a mean to pump it and make money.
Yeah, it's a trade.
What's interesting is that this launchpad contributed to BNB surge in price. I think the fact that the launchpad ICOs were accepting BNB to buy the tokens, it drove the price up. Besides the whole Binance building things and the decentralized exchange that is moving fast forward right now. They're almost done with it already. So yeah, that contributed to raising the price.
100%. I mean, that was one of the biggest things for ETH. That was the reason you bought ETH, and obviously now it's a little bit not so clear whether or not there was like a credit bubble of ICOs investing their fake money into other ICOs, and that probably formed even more of a bubble. But that's definitely driving demand for BNB. If you want to get into this ICO pump circus, you have to buy BNB now. So that's good for BNB holders.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have the best, like I said, I have the best fucking cast and guess because y'all just led me into the next topic again, which is one of the last topics that we're going to talk about for Binance is BNB coin. So like you said, BNB and like I mentioned before we got into this, BNB has been on a been on a tear for the last weeks, maybe even month or so, and even after the AMA, it even went even more crazy, and I still think it's holding pretty well right now. But BNB has moved into the top 10 market cap for coins, and it's on its way to the top 5, and I think it'll be there more sooner than we think. And you guys just mentioned that it has all of these factors that drive up its price, like you need BNB to buy the launchpad, or you need BNB to use it on the decentralized exchange or whatever. So where do you see BNB going, and do you see it being a top 3, or being even on taking Ethereum's place, which you just mentioned which was why Ethereum skyrocketed in 2017, 2018 because of this use for ICOs? It seems like CZ just kind of took that idea and applied it, because BNB has been around since not too long after Binance came on as an exchange. It's just the use case, besides the fees, taking away fees. Oh yeah, and it also takes away the fees now. So it has 3 great uses. So when all season comes back around, or whatever anybody wants to call it, it helps reduce fees, get you on a launchpad, helps with the DEX. So it seems like those 3 good uses will take this to however far they want to take it. What do you guys think about BNB right now?
Yeah, BNB, I have such a hard time, and the one thing I've learned in crypto is predictions past 6 months or a year aren't going to do anyone any good, even if you get it right. Maybe you get a lot of retweets or something, but it's really a terrible way to approach trying to predict these things. I try to trade things level by level. I think from a trading perspective and what's going on right now is a lot of people view BNB as pretty much a stock or a piece of Binance, and that's not right. Obviously, you don't have any recourse. You have no right to their revenues or anything like that. But from a sentiment perspective and from this expectation that BNB is the top exchange and launchpad is changing the world and all these tokens are going to change to Binance chain, those might all happen. And for right now, that's driving sentiment and making people say, you know what, I'm going to hold on to BNB because BNB is going to be the top exchange. Whether or not they even understand that maybe that line of thinking long term doesn't make sense, it kind of doesn't matter. So from a trading perspective, even last week, going into Monday, I bought BNB and I just faded it yesterday. But I think it'll drive more volatility. I don't know. I don't think I could buy BNB right now and view it as a long term play, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to watch. Blues, man, you into that? I know, man, you mainly are on the margin trading and all that stuff. But have you took a peek at BNB or what?
How long have I been on mute? It's like always when I'm playing Xbox, I'm on mute and I don't know for how long, and I'll be talking. I'm like, why is everyone ignoring me? When it comes to coins like BNB, I mean, the only thing I'm not going to try and do with that is like try and call a top, because I mean, at the end of the day, this thing's going straight up. So my like technical analysis PA brain is like, stay the fuck away from this thing. But when something has a catalyst like this coin does, as kind of Luke just touched on in terms of, having to buy BNB coin to get involved in, these ICOs that are on the launch pad, to me, it's like, I'm not interested in trying to, call an end to this thing. But at this point, like, I'm not really someone who's going to be investing in any of those types of things. So, I mean, it's fun to see. I mean, what goes up must come down, but I mean, who knows when is going to be kind of the real question, because if you look at the weekly chart of coins like Ethereum, et cetera, when they are going absolutely bonkers, it's weeks and weeks and weeks of green candles in a row. And that's what you're seeing on BNB right now. I sent out like a sarcastic tweet that wasn't taken very sarcastically about going all in on BNB and Ravencoin the other night. And it worries me that people think they're like you guys all know who a Bitcoin fund manager is, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like he's a clown, right? And he like commented, and I'm pretty sure he's being serious, he's like, any other coins on your radar to FOMO into? And then like his next tweet was like, only accepting portfolios to manage like 5 Bitcoins or more. I'm like, who is this guy? Who's giving this guy money? Like, I don't understand. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not in BNB. It's been exciting to see. I'm not trying to call an end to it yet. I mean, God, what is it? 10 weeks of green in a row, it looks like. Maybe one down week in between there. So, I mean, be careful, I guess. But yeah, no, it's been crazy to watch. Not something I own, but also not something I'm going to try and call a top on. Ravencoin, I'd be much more confident in being like, okay, this thing is just market cycled now. Expecting this thing to fully retrace again, 100% in my opinion. BNB, on the other hand, I do think there's some sort of catalyst that, maybe it can go higher. I mean, pretty crazy to watch. But whatever CZ is doing, man, he's doing it right.
Yeah, man, and that leads me into the thing. So, if you don't mind, man, would you give us some of this famous chart work?
Sure.
And while you're getting into that, one question that I want to ask you guys very quickly: what do you guys think about this Samsung S10 with the whole crypto wallet and then the whole thing? And I know a lot of guys have iPhones, and then a lot of y'all talk shit about us with Androids and shit. But I love my Android, motherfucker. Y'all ain't about to talk about me. And I love my Android and whatever. But this is kind of like a big thing, because if you think about it, if we want to bring crypto to the masses and make it more of a general thing, then developments like this, where it's in your everyday phone, because a lot of people are going to buy this S10. Believe it or not, whether they're buying it for the crypto wallet or not, which most of them probably won't. But it's going to be in the hands of a lot of people. So do you think that this is something that's good for the space, or is something that really doesn't matter?
It's hard to say. I think with the S10, I definitely don't think anyone's buying the S10 to get into crypto unless you're already into crypto. I think like the comparison I would make is, I don't know, maybe some new, right when Venmo was new, it's like all of a sudden if your iPhone came loaded with Venmo, maybe you check it out. I'm not sure that drives like any kind of actual buying pressure, short term, medium term. I think that the best thing it does is it continues to legitimize. It also adds awareness. If you all of a sudden have this app or whatever it is downloaded on your thing, it's like an app like PayPal or Venmo. It's going to be there, but I don't think it's the biggest deal. I think it's overblown by a lot of things. It's like all the partnerships we've seen in 2017, 2018. They're great, and sure, maybe they cause some coin with less than $1 million of volume to pump, but at the end of the day, come on.
Yeah, right. And a lot of people are talking about it like it's just about to be like the next goal.
I bet you'd be surprised to see how many people don't even use any sort of hard wallet or anything like that at all, and just keep all of their money on exchanges. So I think for someone to like buy a phone that has some sort of like built-in wallet or whatever it is, that person is already super into crypto. I don't think that's driving new money into the space. I mean, sure, I think it's cool. But I'm not giving up my iPhone for that. That's for sure. I like 100%. My pictures. I don't know those potato pictures you're taking on your Android there, Dane, but
and maybe
my shit is legit. Hey,
I don't even know why people make the photo argument, because I feel like my brother has like a Pixel 3 or whatever the newest one is, and it takes incredible pictures. So I don't understand where that whole meme started, but it's pretty funny.
Bro, I got a Pixel 2 and I run a store, a shoe resale store, hype_BTC, by the way. I'm the host, so I can shield my own shit. It's hype_.
Can I buy sneakers with Bitcoin?
With Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Oh, shit.
I've been waiting.
Tell me this now.
Bro, I've been waiting to because I don't have my actual like Shopify website set up for it, but I do it through like DMs or whatever, and we can still do it. But I've been selling I've been selling locally and everything. But the Instagram page is hype_BTC, and I'm claiming that it's the first one to let you do it. But anyway, all of those pictures on that Instagram page that you see on there, those are taken with my Pixel 2, and I've gotten comments by some people about how crazy the shit was. So put that camera shit to rest.
Well, get ready to ship some sneakers to Canada, man. I gotta add to my collection.
I'm dead fucking serious. So yeah, get at me on that. But let's look and see what you got going on right here. And
sure. So for me, it's been like a lot of sideways. I mean, I haven't taken a ton of trades, here, which has actually been quite nice. I've been living life, which is great. My Twitter stats tell me so, because it's like when you look at your analytics, like, oh, your tweet numbers are way down, all this shit, and it's like, well, I don't know. I like catching kind of in especially in things like Bitcoin, and crypto. I'm more of a day trader or short-term trader when it comes to like Forex, more so than anything. I'm more consistent with it. I have a higher strike rate with it. In crypto, I like to try and catch trends. So I wish I could say I rode this thing all the way up from 3,300 to as high as it went to 4,200. I did not. I managed to post the correct trade on like TA wise on this in Ethereum, but I ended up butchering my entries and my executions, and shit happens. It's not the end of the world to me. So I'll mark out a couple key levels here that I'm watching and what I kind of think might happen here. And I'll kind of talk through why I think these levels are relevant, as I do it. So the first two levels I'm going to mark here are going to be the open of, the open of this candle here. Which is a weekly order block for the ICT nerds, or a start of a demand zone, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I just like that level there, and I like the equilibrium meme on it as well. And as you can see, that's exactly where that swing failure pattern happened that led to this move up. So to me, these are two very relevant levels. Another really nice level I like on the weekly here is the top of this candle here. And that's actually you could round it up and just say 4,100, but you can clearly see 4,100 is a key resistance, right? No movement outside of this range is happening until 4,100 is broken and closed through. So if you're trying to catch the next major trend to wherever it is, it's going to start above this level. You can keep it that simple. So anyone who is longing 4,100 any of these times, go ahead, add them to a Twitter list on your Twitter there, and remember to counter trade them next time we get near there. Let's see, another level I like here is the yearly open. So a lot of people ask me about like yearly open, monthly open, weekly open. I mean, there's a conversation to be had there, but why these levels are significant. For me, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? If you mark the yearly open on your chart, like, does this not look like a level of interest to you? right? We've definitely pivoted around this level, you know, significantly. So I like it as a level. You could call it 3,700, get the same effect. And even if you go back in time, even though the yearly open didn't exist here, that 37 level, clearly a very key level. When we broke above it, we started a move to all-time high. So when I'm marking levels, I don't just like marking levels that have multiple touches. I like marking levels that not only have lots of interaction, but usually have some sort of significance occurring, whether it broke a key high, it broke a key low, it started a major swing. That's where I'm looking for my order blocks or demand zones. That's where I'm looking for my SR levels. You know, an order block in the middle of nowhere, you know, like this means nothing, right? When you have a big gray area and it's like, well, what is this? To me, they got to happen around key levels, so support and resistance, and then around areas of significance. I want those blocks, I want those levels to, you know, propel price, you know, in a way that matters to me. And as you can see, 4,100 here, entire move up here, rejected at 4,100. We saw about a 50% retrace. Again, all the way up to 4,100, retraced all the way down to the lows again. Again, up to 4,100. This is a key level to me, right? Not just because it's 4,100, but for reasons like that. So when it comes to the yearly open, I call them kind of like implied support and resistance levels. You'll see a lot of guys like SZ and Trader XO, shout out to them, who use things like the Monday range or the Fridays range or the daily open strategy. You know, keep it very simple, right? Like, I mean, imagine the yearly open is the daily open, right? If you're trying to predict if this is going to be an up day, you're saying, okay, I think Bitcoin is bullish. I think this day of trading is going to be a bullish day. Well, you want to get long at or below the daily open, if that's the case, right? Because you believe we're going to close as an up candle. So it's important to know where that level is, right? No different with the yearly open, right? If we think 2019 is going to be a bullish year in Bitcoin, or a sideways year, or, you know, a bearish year, you're going to want to know where the yearly open is. So keep it as simple as that and mark them on your chart, and you'll see they actually work quite well. So the only other level I think I want to mark here, I think that actually might be it. There's another little nice level here, and I stole this one directly from my friend Crypto Cred. Shout out to him. He talked about this one in one of his live streams. This is the level I've watched for a while, but it disappeared off my chart and I didn't mark it again. And Michael's trading journal pointed it out again. I like this level as well. So, I mean, on the short term, this looks bullish still to me, right? Like, I mean, these are higher lows. We haven't really eclipsed this higher high yet, which is what I would like to see. Like, everyone was hyped up here like we were going to 5K. And we still haven't made a higher high. A higher high to me on the weekly chart, I use wicks. Some people use candle bodies. I personally use the wick. So to me, this level needs to get broken for it to be considered a higher high. So that's 42.41. So still hasn't happened yet, but I mean, you know, doesn't take a rocket science to say that this looks like a low, a high, and a higher low forming. The argument for the bears, I guess, is this huge rejection wick here, and this is grinding up and looks like it could potentially round off, right? Like, if you're going to see a break in trend, like you did, where can I give you an example? I've lost all of my levels already.
Either shooting straight up or going straight down, right?
Yeah, you usually want to see like impulse, right? You want to see a move away that has, just so you guys know, during this break, I've gotten no better at TradingView. And I do like live streams almost every day with the homies, and I still suck. So like, this is what I mean, right? We have a low, a high, this higher low. See the higher high, how much power there was there, and we blasted through. Not getting that vibe yet, but again, I'm not gonna be interested in like being overly bearish for new lows as long as we're above the yearly open. Like, this very well could be the wick of the entire yearly candle, right? So if you're imagining what the yearly candle is gonna look like, you know, you have a wick, you have a body. Look at that fat, beautiful candle. This could be here, right? This could be this area where we traded under the yearly open, and we could have a bullish year, right? We don't know what the yearly candle is going to look like yet, but I mean, I'm interested in knowing, is the wick in? Is the low of the year in? So I want to know where that level is. So for me, I mean, if you're a bull, I'm very much of the mindset that we are grinding at this resistance level. It looks like this crazy move that we had just happened today. It looks like it was a stop run. Or as you know, some famous TA gurus are saying, the market makers are filling up their shorts because that's what they do. No comment on that. My one comment is, if you think the average CT person knows what market makers actually do, I bet you they don't. I bet you most people don't know what actual market makers do or have any idea of what's going on with whales or big players or institutions or anything like that fucking at all. It's just all stupid garbage language. At the end of the
I'm gonna pause you, and you can keep going with the chart. But literally, as you're saying this, there's a discussion going on with Dante and ICT on Twitter about using the word liquidity provider versus market maker. It's hilarious.
Oh my God. So I know, like, I'm guilty of using the term market maker because ICT was one of my mentors. So it just kind of was ingrained in my, vocabulary, like the market maker sell model, the market maker buy model, the market maker is doing this. At the end of the day, I mean, I think all of that is rubbish. I mean, obviously, I hope ICT isn't listening. I love you, Michael. But like for me, it's forget all of that language, right? Like I think most people don't actually understand what, and I think Flood, or it might have been Aurelius, did a really good thread on what an actual market maker does. Yeah, both of them have done that. David Bell, I think he goes by Macrodesiac now on Twitter. He just did a podcast.
Yeah, I just had him on.
Exactly. That guy knows what a market maker does. His source, he was a fucking broker. So that's a person I'm going to listen to.
I worked as a broker as well. So we had 19 liquidity providers. We aggregated price. So it's funny. I've seen it, but I don't think that anyone on Twitter or ICT even, I think his methods are great if it helps you all. But I think people took that term and then used it as something else.
Yeah. So in a one or two sentences, 2-3 sentences, what is a market maker? If you just at a high level.
Well, on the market, sorry, you go ahead. You're the broker here.
I was going to say their job is to literally make the market, right? So I'm going to define it without using those two words. Imagine you're trying to buy and sell at a certain rate. So right now I'm looking at main screen. The price is 38.54. Right now, someone is literally making that market. It's not me or you because we don't have the means to do that. But someone with big pockets will, and what they're doing, they're providing liquidity. So they're stacking, their asks right above, and they're stacking bids below, or vice versa, the best bid and offer, and then they just want to get paid on the spread. They want to stay market neutral, right? Their only job is to be making that spread, and whether that spread is 0.005 or whatever it is. That's all they're doing. They're just trying to provide liquidity. They're not in the business of trying to swing something, because if someone actually does step in and move the price and they're all of a sudden stuck out short, they're fucked. And then they go insolvent. So it's more of a thing of constantly providing liquidity to the market. They're literally providing rates or providing prices, making the market.
Yeah, no, exactly. They're delta neutral, right? They're not trying to like get retail long so they can short. I mean, that's some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I think people confuse market maker with large players who are, able to move enough volume that actually moves, the market.
So they basically kind of like market stabilizers, kind of sort of that kind of give them enough room to make some money.
They're making the difference between the bid and the ask, right? Like the spread is their business, nothing else.
They're the oil to the market. They're what allows a lot of things to happen. And the reason it works, or the reason they would do that, imagine you're a broker and you're a broker in FX. It's all OTC. There's not some exchange. You're literally trading with a broker. A lot of the times what happens is you have relationships with 19 or 20 different banks, whether that bank is JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, and maybe you also have some prime brokers, whether it's Citadel and some hedge funds. They're all providing you quotes of maybe they're trying to also offset their books. Maybe they are a little bit long or a little bit short, and then we're just aggregating as a broker, as a market maker. You're aggregating all those best bid and best offer, right? So if Goldman and JP and Citadel all offers you 38.54, or we'll 38.53.6, we're going to show on your screen 38.53.6, and that's the price that you, Dame, or you, Maine, or me, I can log in and click buy, and at the exact same second or millisecond, someone's also offering $0.1 below that, and it's just over and over and over. They're trying to stay market neutral and literally just providing prices, right, for people to take.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with someone like controlling price and trying to move it against you and hunt your stops and all of that fucking bullshit. So, I'll have to catch up on that Dante or ICT Twitter beef. Those are always fun to read on a Friday. So I mean, at the end of the day, my thoughts on Bitcoin are pretty simple. We're in this range, right? If I were to delete the yearly open essentially makes the equilibrium of this range here. So you could argue that between 4,100 and 3,350 is a range. Here's a slight deviation below. We're now holding above the EQ of the range. if you're a range trader, basically we've now tapped the top of the range. What you generally want to see as a range trader is when you move to one side of the range, it generally might move back to equilibrium or back to the other side of the range. If you're a bull on Bitcoin here, I think we really need to get above this block here sooner than later. And I think if we do establish above here, I think we're going to have a move into this area here, 4,200 to kind of 4,400 is my, next area of resistance. I do think there's a lot of levels that need to be cleared. I don't think we just go straight from 4K to 5K. I do think there's going to be areas of resistance, but if you're bullish on Bitcoin, you want to see us kind of make one of these moves sooner than later, in my opinion. I do think the longer we stay here, the more likely it is that we actually come down and maybe test the lower part of the range again. I'm still high time frame kind of bearish on Bitcoin. Maybe I've got bear goggles on too much. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, I would try it. I'm short right now, and I would try another short up in this 4,200 to 4,400 area. That's just me. The risk is going to be mitigated, and if I get stopped out, it's going to be 2, 3, 4%, maybe 5% at most. So it's not going to wreck me, even though everyone on Twitter will tell me I've been wrecked.
Man, tell him to stop pocket watching, bro. Tell him don't worry about what you be doing. Just take this info and run with it.
Are you on crypto Twitter if people you aren't concerned about what every other person seems to be doing at all the time? It's like, oh, do you just want my bank login as well? And you can just see what I spent for lunch.
That's what I'm saying. I saw you getting on somebody's ass the other day. And I was just
you can have it.
Yeah, I was like, let them know, man. I saw somebody was telling you that, you missed a trade, but you hedged it, of course, like you just said, like you always do. And they always forget about that. But like, hey, bro, get up.
It's just like, I just think it's funny, man. And I'm very confident there's, a correlation between, how much someone trades and how well they do it and how concerned they are with what everyone else is doing. Flood is a guy who gets a lot of flack, because he's a long bias trader. He likes to long Bitcoin. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to short a coin that goes up more often than it goes down. And that's totally fine. And he'll get a lot of hate for it, but it's like, he doesn't usually engage in it. You don't see him really give a fuck. And that's because that's someone who's A, actually trading, B, knows what they're doing, and like C, is actually making fucking money. Like if you're making money, you're not really salty and pissed off and yelling at people on Twitter. So, whenever you see someone raging and stuff, just kind of like take it back and be like, I wonder what that person's going through, how much money they just lost, what the fuck they're dealing with that has them so upset that they're going to come and yell at some person on the internet. I mean, I am a believer that most people on CT aren't trading, but I'm not like in this fucking witch hunt business that's gonna be like, oh man, show me your order size and show me the executed order or else you're full of shit.
Show me where you sold it. Show me where you bought it.
Yeah, I need to know. So I mean, yes, short term, I'm like, if we get above here, I think we'll go, there's a long to be had above this gray. I think you could long this, but I think the ultimate kind of, line in the sand, if you want to call it, is this 4,100 level. I don't think anything crazy bullish happens until we have like a high time frame. So I'm talking daily, weekly close above this level. That's kind of my thoughts on Bitcoin. I'm short. I do believe that the bottom, and this is kind of what I assumed when I first started posting about where the bottom is going to look like. I never thought it was going to be like this, right? It's like, okay, we're back at 6K now. I'm definitely more of the mindset of like this kind of thing happening for another 6 months. Because just look at how bullish people got here and how bearish people are here. And, same thing here. So, I mean, there's money to be rinsed out of people in a range like this because people are going to overtrade and they're going to, get chopped up. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see, continued sideways movement for, the better part of 2019. And I'm okay with that because, there's very nice swing trades. I mean, just with these 4 or 5 levels here, these are very tradable areas, right? Buy down here and sell up here. And until that doesn't work anymore, keep doing it, right? So that's kind of my thought.
Well, that is the bomb. Lookout as always, as you give, man. Appreciate that. And you heard them, man. There's money to be rinsed. So if you got that dirty money, come on and bring it on in and get it washed up. And
Did I say rinsed? I must have been a Freudian slip there.
Hey, yeah, that will be blocked out on the live publish on this now.
Yeah, exactly.
What I was about to say. So we're gonna wrap this up. This has been definitely a good episode 1. Luke, thank you for bringing that wonderful insight and that knowledge to this podcast. But as we wrap up, we like to for all of your followers and stuff. I know that they always are wondering like what's on your radar. So three quick 3 quick coins that you've been looking at, and you don't have to give an explanation for them or whatever, but do you have some top 3? And it could be any coin, it could be coins in the top 10, it could even be Bitcoin. What are you looking at right now? What's on your radar?
Oh man. Let's go with I'll go with kind of a macro view. It's what I want to focus on anyways. I really try to like main, and I play more alts than main, and that's kind of more my focus. But really, my whole goal is to get the macro trend right of that alt window that I talked about, right? So I'm way less concerned about catching Engine or ENJ, which I did not catch, or catching the whatever pumps next week because it got listed on Samsung. I'm a lot more worried about being exposed to alts as they move up 30 or 40% and slowly fading out of them as they're not going to rise higher. So for me, very similar to main, and whether or not you use yearly open, whether or not you just like to use simple horizontal daily levels, that 3,700 was a really key resistance to support flip. So last time we dropped from 4K back below 4K, that was resistance. And when we crossed that mid-February, that's the pump that took us to 4,100. So if 3,700, as long as Bitcoin stays above that, and preferably I want to see it clear 3,950, as Main just showed in that scenario, I want to be exposed to alts. I think majors will continue to kind of see the majority of that positive momentum until we hit 4,200, and then slowly rotating into other alts. If I'm looking at majors, just from a technical perspective, I like ADA the most, and I'm saying that it's not a SAP price, it's not a dollar price, it's not a market cap thing. It's just looking at the charts of looking at Tron, looking at Litecoin, looking at EOS, and looking how far those have run as majors as opposed to something like ADA. ADA is really at the exact same level it's been in the past 2 months. So whether or not it actually moves, I think that's probably priced the best. So I like ADA the most from a major perspective. From a smaller coin perspective, I'm going to do what everyone hates, and I'm just going to pass. I don't want to pump anything, man. Everyone can pick their own fucking coin.
It's okay. Everyone's buying Cardano right now.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
go for it. It'll sit still. It'll sit still.
That's as much free shit as we gonna give them for this episode. Anything else, you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay my man Luke, and in order to pay him, you got to talk to me. I'm the middleman, so that price just went up.
You're the market maker, bro.
I'm the fucking market maker. There we go. I just made myself the market maker. So if you want them tips, get at Blockchain Dame. So there we go. There we have it. We got all my dogs here. Literally, we got Blues, we got Main, and we got our very special guest for an episode kicking off season 2, episode 1. My man Luke. I thank you for that. Y'all go check him out on Twitter. I'm pretty sure most of you guys are listening to this already follow him. Hopefully we can get a fucking Vegas run back sooner or later. Me, you, and Maine, and some other people too. I mean, it may not exactly be in Vegas, but I'm down for whatever the fuck. If y'all got something planned, or if y'all got a nice little conference, or just some shit to just go and just fuck some shit up, let me know and I'll be there.
Let's run it back. Let's run it back. Yeah. Me and Maine got to do better on the blackjack table. We had a rough last night, but it was fun, man. It was fun.
I'm still licking some wounds, man. And that Bitcoin, the thing is, the Bitcoin I sold to play blackjack was worth $6K back then.
It got stuck in that Bitcoin ATM. Did that ever get sold?
Luckily I got it out, man. Thank goodness. Like using the one Bitcoin ATM at a Bitcoin convention, you think it'd work, but that was too much to ask.
You know what? That was some G shit though, man, because I don't think they thought that anybody would come and test that shit out. And Maine pulled up and was like, "Hey, I need my motherfucking money. I put a Bitcoin in there."
Bro, if you could see the text I was sending the guy whose business card was on that, I was like, "Listen, motherfucker, I'm an influencer, all right? Like, you'll never work in this town again, bro, if you'll give me my money." So, no, that all worked out. But yeah, we need redemption. The only way to get back in gambling is just to go back and win it all back. It's the only way.
Back, man. Let's just go, bro. And I'll just be on the sideline sipping some liquor and watching you guys because I ain't doing shit. But what I will be doing is be here on the next episode of season 2, episode 2. I think we're going to run that in April because my birthday is at the end of this month. I'm going to Barcelona for a week or so. And we're going to turn the fuck up there with some randoms and all of that shit. But we will be back. You guys will know. Once again, thank you to my man Luke. And that is a wrap for episode 1 of season 2 of the Dog Pound Unleashed. Y'all guys have a good Friday night. Have a good weekend. Fuck some shit up and stay close on the charts. Repost. Don't be a ghost. Shout out to my man Yellow Fella. And that's a wrap. Appreciate it, guys.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me on.
Bye.
Later.